Welcome to Brooks Stories, More Than a Case. I'm here with my partner, Steve Brooks on Beach Brooks, and thanks for joining us today.
Steve Brooks, good to be here. How you doing, Beach?
Doing pretty well. Enjoying another beautiful hot day here in Winter Haven, Florida.
Man, it was humid. I work out in do this high intensity interval training, and it's in a warehouse outside. And I worked out the other day, and when my 45-minute workout was done, I felt like I had been jumped out of a pool. I was drenched.
It'd be interesting to see if you could weigh yourself before the workout and weigh yourself after to see how much water weight you sweat out during the workout.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot. So we got some interesting stuff, some questions off Reddit. Do you want to read the first one?
Yeah, so it's always interesting to, browse the internet and see people asking legal questions. And so the first one we have is about a crash that involved an Amazon driver. The Reddit poster posted, and this crash occurred in Michigan, which could be a little bit different than us down here in Florida. But the Reddit poster said, about a month ago, an Amazon driver in their commercial vehicle was driving in front of me. They made a left-hand turn, and then, as I was driving past, made an illegal U-turn and slammed into my car. It had to be a tow away from the accident. The cops came, and the cops shrugged and said, "You did nothing wrong. I'm not writing either one of you a ticket since it's a no-fault state." I filed a claim with Amazon. They told me I'd be reimbursed for damages in a rental car. 3 weeks later, still fighting with them to move it along. Was told on my 7th phone call that it was in the wrong department. They have to transfer it to insurance instead of them. 4 days later, I call back and am told that my car was deemed a total loss and they are generating an estimate for my payout. I then call back again 4 days later and am told it's being transferred to insurance again. Finally, hear from a new adjuster, never actually heard from the first one, and she said that because Michigan is a no-fault state, they are denying my claim. End of conversation. I told her that I'd been dealing with this for a month now, was told multiple times it was going to be covered, and that less than a week ago was told I'd be getting a check and had been walked through that process already. She said, "Sorry, nothing I can do." The poster had a couple questions, the first one being, is there anything I can do here? My dad wants me to talk to a lawyer, but I wanted to see if that would be worth my time. I don't want an insane payout, I just want my car fixed, just drivable. I don't even care about the dents. Steve, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, the part where the cop said, "You did nothing wrong, I'm not writing either of you a ticket since it's a no-fault state," that is just total BS. So what that's saying to me is you could be a drunk driver driving on the wrong side of the street, and because it's a no-fault state, you're not getting a ticket? That's crazy. Now, this is Michigan. They may be crazy up there, but in Florida, if you're at fault, the cop's going to write you a ticket. And sometimes, even if you're at fault, the cop he might not write you the ticket because maybe you've gone to the hospital and he only heard the other driver's side of the story. But no fault generally refers to what we call PIP. Florida is a no-fault state in terms of that initial $10,000 of coverage for medical care. And the reason it's a no-fault state is years and years ago, before no fault, what would happen is you would be in an accident, you're not at fault, the other driver's insurance company doesn't pay you, they drag it out, you have no way to get medical care because you don't have medical insurance, and so you accept a low bottom offer from the other side just so you can get money to get medical care. So the legislature theoretically cured that problem by making it a no-fault state where everybody had to have $10,000 in coverage to cover their basic medical care, which is automatic after an accident, so you don't have to wait for the other side to pay you, and they can't use that as negotiating leverage. How about you?
I mean, that is 100% correct in terms of the PIP. PIP stands for Personal Injury Protection, and the whole premise behind that is your own insurance company will pay for your medical treatment regardless of whether you were at fault or another party at fault from a crash. Now, with the cop saying that he's not going to write a ticket, I see this a lot of times where, unfortunately, cops do not want to have to come to court and testify in front of a judge. So they'll just say, oh, I'm not going to write anybody a ticket. And a lot of our clients get upset that the other driver did not receive a ticket. Obviously, it is great, just for the justice of the fact of the other person, the wrong party, receiving a ticket. But I do, if it's Michigan's anything like Florida, most of the time the ticket is not admissible evidence at trial. It does not mean just because another party did not receive a ticket that they were not at fault for the crash, that you can't recover anything. So just because that the Amazon driver did not receive a ticket does not mean that the Amazon driver was not at fault for the crash.
The other thing I noticed, this is talking about property damage. Now, Michigan law may extend to being a no-fault state for property damage. I don't know that, but I've never heard of that, never seen that. I've only seen no fault in relation to that initial medical coverage. But the way this reads is that if it was a no-fault state, then the driver of the car that was hit by the Amazon truck should have their own property damage coverage to cover the claim if no fault extends to property damage. But in Florida, that would not be the case at all. Do you agree?
That would not be the case in Florida. We do not have the no-fault property damage. Now, what people could do if this was a Florida case is if they have comprehensive and collision on their insurance, they could go through their own insurance to get compensated for their vehicle. And then their own insurance company will go, we call it subrogate, go and fight the Amazon insurance to be reimbursed for what they paid for the vehicle as a result of the Amazon driver's negligence.
And then the second question is, if I should go to a lawyer, am I okay to start repairing my car? Well, I would go to the lawyer first. Most lawyers in the personal injury field operate on a contingency. So they're going to sit and talk with you and kind of give you a brief understanding of where you're at without charging you anything. So you always want to talk to a lawyer first. If that's your question, I wouldn't start until I talk to a lawyer.
Definitely. In Florida, you see all the attorneys, and we're one of them. We advertise free consultation, so it does not cost you anything to pick up the phone and call and get our attorney's advice. The one thing, just practically speaking, is he says he wants to start repairing his car, but it was deemed a total loss. Do you want to start paying for the repairs of a vehicle and then it deemed to be a total loss, and they're only going to pay you for what the actual value of the car was at the time it was deemed a total loss? So these are all things to go back to Steve's point of this person just needs to get on the phone or go to an attorney's office, sit down, take 30 minutes of their time so they can get these questions answered, because Amazon insurance companies are notorious for dragging claims out, delaying claims, denying claims. And a lot of times once an attorney's involved, they realize there's a threat on the other side and they start taking the claim much more serious.